Hey, Fifth Line, Mike Todd here, in arena host for your Columbus Blue Jackets, and you're listening to the Subjectively Speaking podcast. And now, here's Jeremy Paul and Laura Norman.
All right, folks, we are thrilled to be joined by the general manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets, Jarmo Kekalainen. Jarmo, thank you so much for joining us, especially just days away before the 2022 NHL entry draft in Montreal. How are you feeling going into the draft, knowing just, once again, another huge draft for the franchise?
Well, we feel good. We feel like it's a great opportunity for us, having the 6th and 12th overall picks as of today. And that could obviously change before we get there, but we're excited. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to add some serious talent into our depth chart.
No doubt. And I like that you say as of today, because as we all know, the landscape is ever changing always. And that, no exception to that this last week, because the team announced just a few days ago, traded the 4th round pick that the team held, the 122nd pick overall, for Mathieu Olivier. Now, you're somebody who comes from a scouting background. You love making these picks. They mean the world to you. So obviously you think highly of Mathieu Olivier to use one of those assets on him. Where do you see him fitting into the lineup this coming year?
Well, I think he fills a need for us. He's a physical forward with some size and heaviness to him. He likes to play a rugged style, physical, and something that we felt that we needed in our lineup. We had 2 fourths. We have 7 picks, or had 7 picks overall. And going into the draft, we felt that it was a fair price to pay. The probabilities get lower and lower as you go further into the draft. Obviously, you can make some home runs from later rounds as well, but the probabilities are not great. This is a guy who's already played in the NHL, and we believe he's going to be a full-time player for us.
That's awesome. I mean, we were both very excited to see such an early on transaction and adding some enforcer skill into the lineup. It's a really exciting addition. So let us in as much as you're able to on what the NHL draft process is like. Obviously, Ville Siren and his team have been working on this draft for years at this point. But what does it look like just days before the draft and draft day?
Well, the process starts for the, you don't really get to watch the underages, as we call them, too much, because there's so many first-time draft eligible players that you need to cover. And our philosophy is that we don't try to get to know 500 players. We try to narrow it down from the job that our area scouts do fairly quickly, so that the crossover guys and the guy in charge, Ville Siren, can only concentrate on a lot smaller number of players that he can actually get to know and know well enough to put them in good order. It would be impossible for 1 or 2 guys to travel around the world and get to know 250 players really well. It's just then the order kind of becomes irrelevant at that point. If you haven't seen the guys enough and you have to decide who's 125th and who's 126th, it just doesn't make any sense. So concentrate on a smaller number of players, put them in good order, and we'll probably get 4 or 5 rounds of players from that group. So that's one big part of the philosophy. But as I said, we start that process in August, basically, watching that age group that's getting drafted for the first time. And as we go, that's all we do. We watch, we evaluate, we scout, and then we work on the order. So it starts from the areas, whoever is in the area scout in Finland or Sweden or Western Canada or Quebec or USA is going to work on his area and make sure that the top 10 is in great order, so that the crossover guys go to see the right guys, the guys that they need to spend time watching, putting in the right order when we do the overall list. So that's all we do. We with the scouts, we watch, we evaluate, we work on the order, and then ultimately Ville Siren decides the overall list, and once you worked on it all year, basically regularly after every game, and the last game is played, your list is pretty much there. Then we do all kinds of background checking and psychological testing, and we get the combine results and watch them compete in the testing there, and we adjust the order a little bit, but 90% of the order comes from how they did on the ice, what they did on the ice. But an important part of it is also how they are off the ice and what kind of people they are, what kind of teammates they are, what kind of character they have. The character should always be shown on the ice first and foremost, but also the teammate part's very, very important for us.
Most definitely. And as we kind of go into every draft year, right, fans always have ideas of what the team needs. They've got players circled on, the mock drafts, like who they want you to take. And obviously for you and in your team, that's kind of going in one ear and out the other. You're going to do what you feel is best for the team, as you should. But how often are you like taken back by how much that differs, right? Like the fans' perspective on what the team needs and your perspective and the scouting team's perspective on what the team needs?
No, I think it's great. The fans have the passion, and they think what we need the most, and weigh in on their forums on what we should do. That's just great that people are interested and people are passionate about the Blue Jackets. I would be very cautious in trying to get a quick fix from the draft, because it could take 5 years before that guy's ready to play, and then our needs could be completely different. That's why we always stick to the philosophy of taking the best player available, regardless of the position or style of play, and we can't get away from that, because it's just it'd be silly to take a forward because we feel like we need scoring or defensemen, because we feel like we should have better defensemen at this point, when that guy could play in 2028, 29 season and make an impact to become an NHL player. We could have a completely different team at that point.
And kind of in the same breath, pundits and fans always try to assign a value to a draft year before they're able to really see and evaluate the talent that it articulates to the NHL. And with that, how deep does your scouting team feel this draft class is?
Well, I always say the same boring answer that, if people say it's a weak draft, let's make it a great one. So, I just saw a couple of stories written about 2017 draft that was supposed to be a weak draft, but then you get a Cale Makar, fourth overall in that draft, and we've all seen this spring what he's all about, and so you just work on that order, and then that's the tough part here too, is that players are in such different stages of their career. When they're 18 years old, they could be physically mature or immature. They could be psychologically mature or immature. And the guys that are really driven to get better, that if they have that immaturity on the physical side or skill side, but they have that drive to get better every day, and they're relentless workers, they just go up like this, and they become great a little bit later. And that's the toughest part in amateur scouting, is projecting a 17, 18-year-old kid and what he's going to be when he's 25. We don't have a crystal ball, and the character, the mental side of things is so hard to predict in particular. So that's why the area scouts are so important. They need to get to the bottom of everything these guys do, how they do in their school, how they treat their friends and teachers, and do they open the door for a young lady when they see her at the grocery store, and just all of that goes into being a good teammate, good citizen, and a driven athlete, and that's the hardest part, because the seeing what's on the ice is on the skill side in particular is fairly easy. Any of us that have done this for a long time can see who can skate, who can pass the puck, who has speed, and who has a hard shot. Those things are easy, but the other parts of the scouting are a lot harder.
Yeah, I often find myself not envying the position that you find yourself in when it comes to some of these decisions and all of that kind of stuff. But one of the things that's been clear over the last, almost decade of your tenure in Columbus is the term "in Jarmo we trust" has kind of become a popular term around social media. And it's really quite the endorsement, considering Blue Jackets fans didn't really, trust or buy into the front office in this way until your tenure. So in terms of that, and on a personal level, like how much does that mean to you and to your team, kind of just recognizing the effect that you've had on Columbus hockey?
Well, first and foremost, it's not about me. It's about the Blue Jackets, and we have a great staff, and that's another part of the whole thing. Like I believe in character in the people that I work with, and that's how I try to hire. I hire people that I trust, people that are driven, people that have integrity and work ethic, and I think that I'm surrounded by really great people from the front office down to the scouting staff, and that makes my job a lot easier. And that's what team sports are all about, whether it's in the office or in the locker room or on the ice. And you got to trust the guy next to you and have respect for each other. And whatever the roles are, we appreciate the job that's getting done for the Blue Jackets, and I think we have a lot of fun together. That's another part that I appreciate a lot too. That we have a lot of laughs and we work hard, but we have fun as well.
And we love that. And I definitely think that is pretty evident through, just seeing pictures and engaging with anyone on your staff. So I think that's a big bonus for fans to know that the front office staff functions as a team and really enjoys like working together. I think that makes a big difference. But we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you about the NHL Global Series matchup this fall against now reigning Stanley Cup champions, the Colorado Avalanche. So how excited are you about the trip, and what's your one travel tip for members of the fifth line that are making their way to Finland in November?
Oh, I got lots of tips, and it's going to be a great trip. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to showing my home country from maybe a little different perspective than people that may have traveled there before, but haven't seen much else than the hotel and the hockey rink. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to hopefully having a lot of Blue Jackets fans in the building. It's a beautiful building, brand new building in Tampere, and I was born in that city, but lived a little further north most of my life. But it's going to be a great experience. It's obviously going to be a great opponent. We know how good the Colorado Avalanche are, and but the NHL is a tight league. We were one of the two teams this year that beat them both times. So look forward to having some great games against them, and hopefully coming back with 4 points.
I hear from people that I have to have authentic long drink. Like I've had it here in the States and what they produce here, but I've heard that that's like a must-have on my list.
Oh yeah, that's definitely one of them. Aaron Portslanka always markets that very, very heavily because he's made the trip to Finland.
Yep, and that's exactly who I've seen it from. I'm like, so that's on my list for sure. So what is your message? I mean, obviously the off season gets to, like you said, like you get to late summer and it kind of slows down a little bit, but just in terms of the off season in general, what is your message to fans in the fifth line as they prepare to watch the draft and then the rest of what comes with the off season?
Well, just come grow with us. We're gonna, I think we proved to a lot of people that we can turn this around a lot quicker than some people thought. I thought we had some real good parts of last season that showed the excitement that we can have around our young players and our young team. It's going to take a little while before we become a true contender again, but I think we'll do it a lot sooner than a lot of people have thought. And once we get to that group again that can compete for the Stanley Cup again, we're gonna build a lot of excitement in the city. We've had a taste of it in 2019, what it can be like, and we only went 2 rounds. So I can't wait to get there when we go 4 rounds finally and bring the Stanley Cup to Columbus. That's my dream. I know that's the dream of our whole staff, and we work hard at it, and we'll get there.
Oh, absolutely. And we are very much so excited and anticipating of that day eventually when the cup comes back to Columbus. But so obviously in the like calendar of events in the off season, the free agency opens up on July 13th after. Sorry, I muted myself. So with that, in that case, how much does the draft alter a team's game plan as they're heading into free agency?
Well, I think there's going to be some activity once we get to Montreal. There could be some trades, and that's another route that we can take in adding and making our team better. So we're going to look at all different avenues of doing that. Obviously, the picks that we have could be used for trades to get some immediate help, but it's not going to be for an older player. If we're going to trade one of those picks, it's going to be a younger player that we can control and have with our team and grow with our team for years. We're not looking for immediate help for the next couple of years to try to take a step or two. We want to build this the right way, and the right way of building is to be able to compete for the Stanley Cup. So once we see what happens at the draft and how everything pans out, then we can set our sights on the free agency and look for the same things again, which is try to make our team better, and that's what we're here for every day.
I always joke that if I was an NHL GM and I saw your name come across my caller ID, I'd get a little nervous to answer because I feel like you always do such a great job at creating trades for this team that, might not be on people's radars at first, but then all of a sudden it's all everybody's talking about. So I'm looking forward to a little bit of that, hopefully, here in the off season. But you mentioned it earlier, the ultimate goal in Columbus is to bring a Stanley Cup home. And this is a little bit of a superstitious question, so if it's a question that you'd rather pass on, totally fine by me. But if the day and when the day comes that cup does come to Columbus, all sorts of stories about things that people put in the cup to eat or drink out of the cup. And we always ask our guests as our last question, what would you put in the cup to eat or drink out of it?
I would probably stick to liquids, but I'd definitely take it to my cottage in Finland and sit on the dock and watch the sunset with a nice glass of wine.
I love it. Well, Jarmo, we could not thank you enough for taking some time out of your afternoon. Obviously, busy days ahead for you and your team. Is there anything else that you'd want to share or any other things that we think we missed on?
No, I think you guys covered it pretty well. And just keep believing in us, and we'll make you proud one day.
No doubt in our mind whatsoever. Folks, this has been an interview with Jarmo Kekalainen, General Manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Jarmo, thank you so much, and we wish you best of luck in Montreal. Safe travels.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
What's up, y'all? It's Jeremy from Subjectively Speaking, a proud member of the Hockey Podcast Network presented by DraftKings. You can check us out wherever you listen to your podcasts, and you can go ahead and follow us on social media at SubjectivelyPod on Twitter and on Instagram. You can just drop Subjectively Speaking in your search bar on Facebook or on YouTube and find us there. Make sure you guys are giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel for new content, and make sure you all are rating, reviewing, and subscribing to the podcast wherever you listen.